Let's talk about One Pride MMA. So earlier this week, I put out an article on MMAecosystem.com about their 2024 plans. Now, I realize I kind of missed the ball a little bit with this because the press conference came out. It was early February or late January. They held this press conference. But basically, they put out some pretty ambitious plans for their 2024 year. I'm going to show you a few things that were shown at the press conference. This first one here, some really interesting tidbits, and I'll show you their actual schedule here in a second. But you'll see that they're hoping to run a lot of their monthly shows as usual. They're going to have co-promoted shows as well with JCK and WLF. Which is cool. Something interesting I found on here is that they are hoping to go on UFC Fight Pass. Now, I checked in on this, and because I was like, it seems a little bit odd to announce at a press conference that you're hoping to sign a broadcast deal with a specific, it's just not standard practice to be like, yeah, we're hoping to sign a deal with ESPN. Unless you already have, they're a long-standing partner, but you're hoping to re-sign. But they are hoping to sign with Fight Pass. I have been told that that is not an official deal just yet. But some of the brass with One Pride did recently go to the U.S. and I guess met with some folks with UFC Fight Pass to talk about a deal. I don't know what, how that went or if that's going to work out. Currently in Indonesia, One Pride MMA airs on TV One. Internationally, they air on their YouTube channel for just $1 a month. So they are a pretty accessible brand, but I think just a lot of folks probably just don't know about them that are casual MMA fans. This would put One Pride in the face of a lot more casual MMA fans if they did sign with Fight Pass. But I would expect we would hear about that imminently because on the next slide, you'll see it. They're hoping to have that deal done really soon. You also see there's co-promotions with Canggu Fight Night, the guys at Bali MMA. That's cool. Indo Battle and Prime Kumite. Indo Battle, so what that is I don't know if it was started by One Pride, but it's basically like a feeder show for One Pride to allow really inexperienced Indonesian fighters and more opportunities to fight and earn a contract with One Pride MMA. So it's a feeder show. They're hoping to launch that this year. That's Indo or Indonesian Battle. Oh, and one other thing you'll see on this page here is that they're hoping to have 4 fighters in Road to UFC, 4 Indonesian fighters. I would guess all those would come from One Pride MMA. And something that was announced a couple weeks ago at the last One Pride live show was that Yudi Kayati, a former One Pride champion, as well as Gugun Guzman, the bantamweight champion, who is a Road to UFC alum, both of those guys will be going to the UFC Combine in Shanghai this upcoming week to compete for a spot in the academy. Now, I've been told, and I'm writing an article on this, I'll get into all of it later, but I'm told that's not necessarily for a spot in Road to UFC, but it could be if it goes exceptionally well and everything works out. So very interesting there. Let me show you this one. I don't know if you all can see this very well, but I sure as heck can't. But it shows you kind of the One Pride schedule for the rest of the year. Not going to go through every single one of these. They do have 2 new locations. They're going to Bali in June, and then they're going to a city called Kediri, I believe. Gosh, I can't read that. August or September, something like that. But they also have the dates for the co-promoted shows with JCK and WLF. It does say that in October that the One Pride team will be going to Zhengzhou, China to kind of do part 2 of the WLF show. So that will be end of October. And then I'll pull this back to me in just a second. But one thing that's really interesting here is that it has dates for Road to UFC every single round. So I don't know if these are set in stone, and some of these I'm just guessing, if they have the 4th week. I'm guessing on the dates here, but I can confirm, I have had this confirmed in writing, that Road to UFC episode 1 of season 3 will be May 18th and 19th in Shanghai. At one point, they had flirted a little bit with the idea of having a UFC event in Shanghai in May, but that also fell through, and they're looking a little bit more at the summer potentially. That's the next option, but still a ways away from that becoming a reality. But they did look at a UFC event in Shanghai in May. They have that event, the Apex event, scheduled for a while. But another thing that you may have seen is that Tim Elliott got a fight scheduled with Tatsuro Taira for the May 18th show. It might have been the May 11th show. I'm not totally sure on that. Either way, he said on Twitter that they originally offered him Shanghai as the location. I'm told that Shanghai show is not happening in May, it is being moved or pushed back, whatever you want to call it. So Road to UFC, May 18th and 19th. And then the rest of those dates, I would say hold those lightly and no locations as well. But that puts Road to UFC in, that would be September and December. So there's some One Pride MMA news as well as some Road to UFC news. I'll be releasing a lot more Road to UFC news here in the near future. Been talking to some people, learning a lot of things about how it's going to work this year. Mostly the same, but stay tuned for that.